Everybody, thanks for sticking around. We've got a primary challenger to Congressman David Young, Joe Grandanette here. It's Joe Grandanette is the challenger to David Young, who's the congressman of the 3rd District here in Polk County and parts beyond. I'm sure that you could name off all 16 counties in the 3rd District. I know that I can't do it. But before we get to that, I just want to make sure, so we know what we're talking about here. This bill that we're talking about was basically an amendment offered to uphold an executive order that President Obama signed to prevent certain kinds of discrimination against members of the LGBT community by federal contractors. It's a pretty narrow thing, but the Democrats offered some legislation, and it looked like it was going to pass, and then 7 Republicans, including David Young, who had originally supported it, changed their vote to be against it. Then after some discussion, the Democrats went crazy, shouting shame at everybody on the floor, I think. Then David Young got some cover saying that there was sufficient religious liberties protections that were put back in the amendment, and then voted for it, and it passed, I think, with like 40 Republicans supporting it after that. Rod Blum, Steve King, the other 2 Republicans here in Iowa, voted against it. So specifically, is it his sort of flip-flopping on the bill that you have the most problem with, or is it voting for something like this at all that you have a problem with, or maybe both?
It's both.
It's both.
I'd have to say it's both.
So what's your?
Well,
go ahead.
What does he stand for? Mm-hmm. What is his candidacy all about? Is he honorable? I mean, he got voted into office to represent the people of House District 3. Mm-hmm.
Well, let's correct that. He did not get voted into office.
Well, at the general election, he did.
In the general election, he did, but let's face it, the 3rd Congressional District Convention is still a tremendous source of anger to those of us on the right. Not so much anger to those in the establishment. Sorry to interrupt, Joe.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, it was an ordeal at the convention. But be that as it may, Mr. Young has betrayed us, and since I was kind of involved in it the last time, I take this personally. Mm-hmm. Fact of the matter is, there should have been 4 or 5 or 6 candidates challenging David Young, not just myself. But it's not politically correct. I've taken a lot of heat by my own party by challenging him, and so, but that's okay. You know, I'm a big boy, and I can handle the pressure. But the issue is on my side. The issues are on my side. I speak the truth, and if the people of of House District 3 want someone that's honest, that's going to go to Washington and tell the truth, then I'm your man.
What do either of you know what the district's feeling about this particular bill and this particular executive action was? I don't think that I've seen any polling on it.
No, I don't know.
You mean specifically for our district?
Yes.
Well, I can tell you just from the Christian conservative polls that I've looked at, people are very upset, particularly with Joe Grandanette, particularly with all the other 7 Republicans. Lefty hit it right on the head. Somehow, the Democrats were able to provide some type of escape clause cover, however you want to talk about it. In other words, a way to be a weasel. And these guys took it. Now,
on the face of it, though, I got to ask you, on the face of it, I'm going to ask both you guys this. Sure. I mean, is discrimination by federal contractors okay? I mean, is it wrong on principle to vote for something like that, or do you have to toe? Because if you're saying that the district, if you don't know where the district stands, and all you did is look at a few conservative leaning polls that talk about a subset of the district, if you don't know where the district stands, then how can you sit there and criticize David Young for this vote?
I don't have that information, and maybe Joe doesn't have that information. It doesn't mean that David Young doesn't have that information. Are you kidding me? He would have that information.
So
they would have an instant poll as soon as.
So how would he know that he didn't vote what his constituents said? You're accusing him of this stuff.
Because that's not what he stood for. But first of all, we already have a civil rights bill. It says no discrimination for anybody.
It doesn't protect people with sexual orientation issues. It doesn't.
It says sex.
No. It says.
I've read it.
Yeah, the Civil Rights Act of 1964 does not protect people based on their sexual orientation. It doesn't.
Well, it doesn't have specifically the sexual orientation, but it protects all civil rights for all people all the time. And we don't have to get specifically. Are we going down the path? Are we going down the path that we have to put in a law every the Italians. Don't discriminate against Italians.
It has that. It's called race and ethnicity.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying.
No, I fundamentally disagree with you.
How about fat people?
Yeah,
that's not a protected. That's not an immutable characteristic.
If Mac had that law that says fat people can't be on the show,
this is all about being politically correct. That's all it's about. This is all
it's about protecting. It's about protecting distinct classes of people that are set apart because of immutable characteristics such as their sexual orientation, their ethnicity, their race, their gender, those sorts of things. If we're talking about people having a weight issue, weight is not an immutable characteristic. You can change your weight. Some people are able to do it more easily than others, but that's not an immutable characteristic that can be protected by federal state law.
Neither is transgenderism. Transgenderism is by definition mutable. I mean, that happens all the time.
That's not protected by federal law either. That's my question. That's
part of this bill. That's how I understood it. Now, the way I read it, I read the bill. That's how I took it. I don't want people to be discriminated against in government contract. But at some point, you have to kind of draw the line and go, well, hold on. How many of these, special groups do we have to have before we finally go, everybody's a special group? You can't discriminate against anybody. And codifying that doesn't do a whole lot outside of stirring up the radical right or the loony left. And you know that as well as I do.
Well, now it just sounds like you called Joe Grandanette a member of the radical right. I don't think that's very fair.
Well,
because he stirred up. I'm not saying that your concerns, Joe, are ill-founded. What I'm saying is, what's the objection? If the objection is on principle, and you're saying that he violated the principle. That's my question.
Is this a problem in our country? Is this a problem within our country? Don't we need to take a look at this and talk about it first? Let's be reasonable about this. This LGBT and transgender just came up in the last maybe 2 months. And we need to have a discussion in this country about bathrooms. We need to have a discussion about where we're going. Where are we going to do in this country about the LGBT and the way and their way of life, and how is it going to affect businesses and schools and colleges and universities? We haven't done that. All we're doing is we're throwing out a bill right now. We have to think about what we're doing now and have a discussion and get everybody involved, and so we can make a good decision on the best interests of all the people in House District 3 and our country. And I just think this bill right now at this point is not necessary. That's what I'm saying. And if Mr. Young, all he had to do is say yes or no, but he's flip-flopped twice now. For what reasons? And if that's okay, he can do that. It's okay.
But he's got to be held accountable.
That is correct. And if he beats me, that's fine. Mm-hmm. But if I beat him because of this on one of many issues,
which we'll get to.
All right. Thanks everybody for tuning in. If I could speak, I could thank Joe Grandanette for showing up. Thanks, Joe, for showing up today. We'll be back with him right after this break. He is a candidate for the 3rd District Congressional District. Boy, I repeated myself a lot.
It's
that
okay.
That LGBT thing got me all wound up. It did. I'm all wound. I wish you could see my hair. It's in a little tight spiral. Anyway, thanks everybody for tuning in. We couldn't do what we do without you. We'll be back right after this break with Joe Grant.